I begin offering my salutations to the C20 chair, Amma, my spiritual master too. I seek her blessings to have this session go smooth, to have a constructive discussion with all of you. I should be honest, all of them have much longer career than me. So I feel privileged to share the stage with all three of you. We are here today for this C20 CONCLAVE, specifically focusing on education for life. And I feel privileged for leading the Education for Life theme under the Education Working Group. So I remember a few months ago when Swami Amrita Swarupananda, who leads the whole C20 initiative, requested me to lead the Education for Life initiative under the C20, and I guess that's how I got invited here too. So it definitely feels nice because that has been more or less part of my life. It's quite evident with my clothes. I'm a monk. Being a monk, we are thinking of a life that is meaningful, a life that is beneficial for others, and through that process beneficial for our own self. So education for life is definitely something very critical in not just a person who leads a spiritual life, in general sense itself. It is the call of the hour. Like the coordinator of the Education and Digital Transformation Working Group, Dr. Prema, quoted Amma this morning. Amma talked of two major problems that the world faces today, or two types of problems. One, because of lack of basic necessities, food, shelter, and clothing. The other one, lack of love and compassion. And as she quoted Amma, once we take care of the second form of problem, the first problem is automatically taken care of. And what is the solution for all this? I was just quoting the same thing when we had the youth session upstairs before lunch. I was interacting with an American author who was participating in the C20 initiatives we had. She was telling me of her speech in the United Nations, and she was talking about all these various problems in the world, right from the war in Ukraine to the poverty in Africa to domestic violence somewhere in Southern Asia to the economic problem in the United States. There is, if we can talk of one solution for all these problems, if we want, or if we can point out to one thing which could be a solution for all of this, it is education. To educate today's generation the right thing, the right way, in the right time. And once we do that, most of these problems definitely aren't going to change overnight, but we will see a change at least by the time we go to our grave. Definitely we'll start seeing a change. So the two problems, education, the solution being for that, the two forms of education that we have. The one that addresses the first kind of problem, education for living, is how Amma phrases it. And the second one is education for life. Education for living is our typical education, the stereotypical education that we get in school, in colleges, that helps us build a life to become academically successful, professionally successful, settle down in life, make good earning. And education for life, on the other hand, is something that makes us complete, makes us content, makes us satisfied, and also prepares us to face life situations, both cordial and otherwise. So education for life is to build us from within, and education for living, the typical education, is to build us from outside. If we really look at, compare and contrast the two forms of educations, education for living, like I mentioned, is to teach us how to earn, whereas education for life is to teach us how to give. Education for living teaches us how to earn. Education for life teaches us how to give. Education for living teaches us how to settle down in life, whereas education for life teaches us how to rise, and not just rise, to raise others too along with us. So it kind of builds us along with the environment. It makes us complete, makes the whole world complete in that process. I remember I decided to become a monk when I was 11. And I moved to the ashram when I was 11. And in some corner of my mind, I thought, now that I'm going to become a monk, why do I need to go to college and all that? Why take the trouble of doing exams? But Amma had a complete different plan for me. She didn't let me stop until I finished my PhD in the United States. Amma always teaches us, or she like those who have grown up in the ashram like me, she tells us spirituality is not about escapism. You need to face every responsibility that you need to take up. Take it up, do it well. That is spirituality. And what Amma was telling me when she sent me to the US to do my PhD is, do your PhD such that it will be of benefit to others. So there itself, she's sowing the seed for education for life. I am getting educated not so that I earn a beautiful job and settle down well in the United States or in Moon or Mars. It's about my education. I'm gaining education so that I could benefit others in whatever little way I can. So keeping that in mind, we designed the Education for Life process. We had a lot of engagement. So to begin with, we began with a concept note. I just wanted to read out the 9 points so that we have a context, because we are aiming for global citizenship as part of this. And to truly become a global citizen, these 9 points is what we proposed, and we are converting that into a policy document through all these deliberations. So I'll quickly read the 9 points. The first point being to include spiritual values like love, compassion, empathy in academic curriculum. 2, to incorporate service-based activities in schools, colleges, and workplaces to develop the attitude of helping others. 3, to teach about inspiring and successful individuals who set the right example of compassion as message of their life. 4th, to make mindfulness activities, counseling, yoga, meditation available at schools and workplaces. 5, to educate citizens about the heritage and ancient cultures of their respective countries, and definitely very important that we need that in our country here in India. 6, to teach every individual right from young age of their responsibilities and their moral responsibilities in society. 7, to stress on inclusiveness and acceptance given the variety and plurality we have in races, religions, faith, traditions, gender, disabilities, etc. 8, to stress on the significance of every being in the creation, to treat every being, to treat animals, to treat Mother Nature with respect, and to live in coexistence, attitude of coexistence. And the last one, to train every individual to use technology, which is an indispensable part of the world, of life today, to use technology with discernment. So these are the 9 points we focused on, and we had many deliberations over the last few months. We had many panel sessions with NGOs, representatives of CSOs, civil society organizations and NGOs. We had panel discussions and one-to-one discussions with religious leaders and spiritual leaders to give their perspective, even interfaith leaders. We had panel discussions with indigenous community representatives, tribal leaders from all across the world, religious leaders also from all across the world. And more importantly, when you talk about education, the most important players are the youth. So we conducted Indian Youth Parliament with youth representatives from 20 states or regions of the country. And we also had an International Youth Parliament with youth from 18 countries from the 5 continents. So based on all these deliberations, we kind of compiled the policies, which hopefully we, not hopefully, we are definitely giving it to these G20 leaders. Hopefully they take a look at it. And today's session also will contribute to that. So I thought I should give this prelude to the discussion that we have. So we have 3 very inspiring individuals here. So I would invite, the list given to me was to begin with Dr. Rajan, but he said ladies first. So, so we'll begin with Kalyani ji, and then we'll move on to Neeraj ji after that. Neeraj ji. Yes, please, from the podium. Thank you. And just before you start, a typical panel discussion would be wherein they speak for a few minutes and there would be a discussion, but because of the time constraint, we'll look at it, how it goes, based on how much time the panelists take to speak first.
Thank you, C20 and Oro University, Kiranji, for inviting me to this grand event. I certainly feel very honored and privileged in sharing this platform with all of you. And in fact, I'm a bit apprehensive because since morning I have been hearing so many eminent speakers and jo kuch Kapil ji ne kaha and Pandya ji ne kaha or I think Mr. Haral, in logon ka sab sunne ke baad mein I think there is hardly anything left for me to speak. But given the role, I have to do that. So I'll just try to sort of limit my speech to the thing. I might be repeating some of that. I'm sorry about that, but that's the way. Anyway, so global citizenship, I would say, has become a very fairly popular and fashionable phrase these days because aspirations and expectations of people seeking newer horizon has increased. And why that has happened, I would say thanks to the increasing ease with which we are able to get all the information on the tips and everything we are able to know what's going around in the world, we are able to know that. And because of that, sort of we have transcended our identities, normally defined by geographical, political or societal borders. And we are starting to redefine ourselves as connected to one another as part of the human race, which is a very broad term and which is good as well. So actually, globalization is not just on account of, increasing number of people who are willing to travel abroad or who want to settle abroad as a legal citizen, but or even Googleization, if I can coin that word, because that's what we are doing now every day, almost every day in our life. But the reason why it's happening is because I think the mind of most of the people has become very curious and constantly seeking sort of newer and wider identities. And as brother said just now, this is very particularly true in the case of younger generations who are the majority of population in India, youth. So we have to look at it in that context. So although this term globalization is relatively recent, but the concept is not actually. इसके बारे में बहुत डिबेट है कि ये ग्लोबलाइजेशन जो हम कह रहे हैं वो कब से शुरू हुआ. कोई कहते हैं कि वो जो 14th सेंचुरी के सिल्क रूट एंड ट्रेड रूट तब से शुरू हुआ, कोई कहते हैं पोस्ट इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन से शुरू हुआ है. बट विदाउट गेटिंग इनटू द हिस्ट्री ऑफ इट, इफ वी लुक एट द ग्लोबलाइजेशन एस्पेक्ट, व्हाट I can say is I think I have covered some already. So what I can comfortably say is today's globalization relates more to economic and political globalization. That's what the word globalization means more to us today. And number two, that we are living in a digitally driven era of globalization, as everybody has said before me. Yes, absolutely right, that we are living in that digital world and we have to see how best we can use it without sort of having any negative impact. And the majority of the population also feels that with critical analysis of issues, developing empathy, solidarity, inclusiveness, and equitable approach, one can progress towards being a global citizen. Next slide, please. However, a very pertinent point जो यहाँ हमें सोचने की बात ये है कि the world is going through, today the world is marred with conflict, division, inequality, poverty, जो poverty के बारे में आज सुबह भी बात हुई थी, and all above all the major crises like climate change. तो बहुत issues आज के ज़माने में है जिसके बारे में हमें सोचना है. We have just gotten over the COVID crisis recently, जो अभी तक उसका असर हम सबको पता चल रहा है. मेंटल फिजिकल हेल्थ के अलावा इन द लाइवलीहुड, इन द माइक्रो एंटरप्राइज, इन स्मॉल वेंचर्स, हर एक की जिंदगी में कोविड का असर कुछ हद तक अभी भी है. बट वन गुड थिंग इज व्हाट वी सॉ ड्यूरिंग कोविड इज, I think for the first time in history, the whole world stood together. The whole world stood united against a fearful unknown, because किसी को इसके बारे में कोई अंदाजा नहीं था. And everybody took individual as well as collective action in a global scale, which was we had never seen before. So that is also part of globalization कि हाँ हम लोग एक दूसरे कंट्री की खबर रखते रहे, एक दूसरे से एम्पैथी करते रहे. So that's a very, while COVID had negative impact, it had this positive aspect that everybody stood together. Everybody tried to worry what is happening with other. And that clearly highlights that the world's growing interconnectedness and collective consciousness on a global scale on all cross-cutting issues relating to social integration and equity. And that brings us closer to sort of critically look at the linkages between education, knowledge exchange, and globalization. Next slide, please. So, today when we are talking about becoming global citizen, we need to sort of revisit some of those basic tools of education which play a crucial role in creating true global citizen. As we already discussed I think several speakers spoke before me, it's not just mere education, it is life skill development. And there are many aspects which are important, but I would just speak about three. Number one, I feel it's the cognitive knowledge, which is very important. Number two, social and emotional consciousness. And number three, behavioral change. ये तीन मेरे हिसाब से जो है बहुत ही जरूरी है. What is this? What are these? Cognitive knowledge. Cognitive knowledge relates to human rights, social justice, and sustainable developments. Social and emotional consciousness focuses on developing positive attitudes, respect for diversity, which brother also spoke now, empathy and solidarity. And behavioral pattern pertains to critical thinking, effective communication, and how we perceive and change our behavior in our day-to-day life about any issues in our life. In my organization, All India Women's Conference, we do a lot of advocacy work for preserving biodiversity, environment, and climate change. And in that, behavioral change is one thing we talk always about, because it's very necessary, let's say for energy conservation, material consumption. आज सुबह ही बात हो रही थी consumerism कैसे बढ़ रहा है, consumption pattern किस तरह से बढ़ रहा है, usage of natural resources and many other factors. इन सब के लिए जो है हमें conscious रहना बहुत जरूरी हो गया है, and behavioral change हमारे में लाना बहुत ही जरूरी हो गया है. So here I would like to sort of little bit introduce my organization. Next slide, please. All India Women's Conference, because number of our branches, we are working towards developing these life skill tools for women, mainly particularly. So All India Women's Conference is a 96-year-old pan-Indian pioneer women's organization established with the objective of creating a society based on the principles of social justice, equity, opportunities for all, promoting national integrity and unity. And our vision is education, emancipation, and socio-economic empowerment of women. We primarily began with this for promoting literacy among women. And in fact, the first college, social science college for ladies in India was set up by us, Lady Irwin College in Delhi. So ARWC branches are always working towards mainstreaming gender in all relevant policies. And our empowerment process is, sort of includes a lot of in-house design programs, some of the programs which we are doing is, I'm just trying to highlight like how we are not an education institute, but we are trying to educate women at our level in different ways. We do adolescent and life skill development for girls and boys, which include mental health and physical health, nutrition, relationships, self-esteem. These are the components include. We do gender sensitization, and the components in that include gender roles, attributes, sexual division of labor, gender-based violence, accepting body differences. We do awareness generation on good governance, individual social responsibilities, national integration program, multicultural convergence, environment protection. As I said that हम लोग इसके behavioral change के बारे में तब बहुत बात करते हैं. And in fact, today morning Prema ji was mentioning about उदाहरण, and जो jail inmates का जो उन्होंने बताया था, I'm very happy to share with you that we have done several of those jail programs, one in Dasna in Delhi, and we are doing in Meerut. And in Dasna jail, we trained the women inmates in solar equipments repair. And they were very happy कि बाहर निकल के उनको कुछ job करने को मिलेगा. So these are the things we are also trying to do. We also facilitate capacity building and among women through skill development and sort of preparing them to take up leadership roles. And the biggest strength, I would say, of our organization is of 96 years sustenance is the dedicated voluntary workers and a network of around 500 branches across India. Our members from Gujarat, I think a lot of them are present here. They are all very active and running very meaningful projects in Surat and in other places of Gujarat. And I'll be very happy to share more information should anyone be interested. But coming back to the topic and to conclude, I would say that education with I think anybody is able to get good education probably in a IIT and all, which we were talking about this morning, with good financial backing and with source. But but to become a good citizen or good global citizen, there are certain things one needs to inculcate right from the beginning of the life. Because why I feel is, I have also been traveling abroad, and then we see जो लोग यहाँ दिल्ली में मैंने देखा है रास्ते में जाते हुए कोका कोला पिया एंड गाड़ी कांच नीचे करके बाहर फेंकते हैं, बट द सेम पीपल बाहर जाएंगे, सिंगापुर जाएंगे, 2 किलोमीटर चलेंगे एक डस्टबिन खोजने के लिए. व्हाई इज दैट? Why can't we practice it here itself? Probably because the laws are not so strict. That could be one of the reasons. So it is most important कि हम लोग शुरू से ही कुछ आदतें जो है बच्चों में डालें, जिसके कारण they can become a good global citizen, right? So for me, I would say number one important is good governance, strengthening the balance among all stakeholders, central, state, community, from all strata of society. I personally feel that this should also include a lot of awareness generation among youth about right to vote, again, because they are the majority of the population here in India. They should know who they are choosing. They should vote judiciously, which is very important. And in fact, again, I want to give an example. हम लोग जब school में थे, and I think many of us can relate to that, we used to have a subject called civics, which was going up along with economics. Economics, civics was a combination of the subject. And civic subject included about Indian constitution, social responsibilities, environment protection, something like that. May probably in a different way it can it will be good. And number two, I would say it should also include clear information about systems, process, laws and rules and interlinkages between them. Because कई जगह ये भी देखा जाता है, especially in case of gender-based violence and many other issues relating to women, there are laws, but there is no implementation. And people don't know where to go, how to approach, and how to go about it. So it might help if there is a clear indication or clear knowledge dissemination about it right from the beginning. And number three, right from a young age, one should one should learn to recognize and acknowledge and respect multidimensional culture, identities, language, gender, and here I would say more importantly, gender contributions and gender roles are important to be included into the education system. And a combination of all these attributes and capacity probably may create a better global citizen and a person to be respecting humanity, contribute better to the society and to the nation. With that, I would like to congratulate C20 Forum and Oro University for choosing such an important topic. And I'm sure purposeful recommendations would be compiled at the end of this workshop to feed into the G20 system. All India Women's Conference and me, I would be happy to participate and contribute in any capacity in the cause, and we look forward to more concrete collaborations. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Kalyani ji. The term Googleization is quite interesting because I once was interacting with Amma and was telling her, Google kind of is replacing teachers these days. Anything you want, Google gives you. And Amma said, yes, it does give whatever you want. Sometimes it even gives you more than information. It gives you knowledge, but it cannot give you love that teachers can give you, the care and love. And it kind of sums up quite a bit of the points that you mentioned. Thank you for that. We've been told we should end in another 16 minutes. We'll see how well can we do. I'll request Neerja ji to please share your words.
Sadar Vandan, Manch, and my beloved brother, colleague and friend, Professor Parimal Vyasji, who is the Vice Chancellor, Provost of this university. I'm really thankful and honored to be amidst all of you as a galaxy. Adarniya Vishnu Bhai and everyone, I think most of you I know personally, so my pranam to everyone and my co-panelists. I'll finish and thank you for asking me to use small content of Pranavayu, and I'll not use much of my Pranavayu today. Well, to begin with globalization, and I'm reminded of a शेर, हर एक दौर का मजहब नया खुदा लाया, करें तो हम भी मगर किस खुदा की बात करें. You know, when we start thinking, what are we talking? We're talking education. Sorry, I'm an educationist and I feel scared. I'm really afraid of the trust people put on educationists. As if education is a rim or Ariel or washing powder which is going to, wash out all blemishes, all negativity and everything. And my God, in practical world, the world I'm playing, I'm a player. You know what I'm dealing with? I'm dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 degree, 2 बच्चे, 3 कमरों का मकान, 4 पहियों की गाड़ी, 5 शून्य की तनख्वाह. For this, the students are sent to the educational institutions. They are not sent for a gyan. You ask those girls who are dropping out. You ask why you are dropping out. The reply doesn't come from the girl. The reply comes from the father. Isko kahan naukri karni hai? We are preparing them only for naukri. That education is making us globalized. Sorry, your trust is very wrongly placed. If you really want to know what would make us globalized, we have to understand that globalized is not a generic term. Globe is not similar. Globe is not with one environment. Ramayana told us, Ramrajya told us, thousands of years back, 3 types of world. Danav, Manav and Vanar. These 3 categories in human form we find in the world. So our Rishi says, Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. It doesn't say Sarve manavaha bhavantu sukhinaha. Manav is not for the pleasure alone. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayah. Let there not be a sickness even in the waters. वो जो सूरज जो बादल बनाता है, बादल बनकर उसी सूरज को ढकता है और गर्व करता है मैंने सूरज को ढक दिया. This is not life skill. बहुत सरल शब्दों में स्वामी जी, मैं बस 2-3 मिनट में बात पूरी करूंगी, क्योंकि जो मैं कहना चाह रही हूँ वो पहुंच गया है। वो बहुत सुंदर सा एक गीत है। अगर हमें वाकई लाइफ स्किल सीखनी है ग्लोबलाइजेशन के लिए, किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार, किसी का दर्द मिल सके तो ले उधार, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, जीना इसी का नाम है। बट ironically, the same singer, the same actor, the same story writer also writes, आजकल किसी को वो रोकता नहीं, चाहे कुछ भी कीजिए टोकता नहीं, हो रही है लूट मार, फट रहे हैं बम, आदमी है बेशुमार, देवता है कम, आसमां पे है खुदा और जमी पे हम। ये जो लेफ्टिस्टों ने हमको एपोलोजेटिक बना दिया है ना, as if no one is our रखवाला, एंड हम इतने एपोलोजेटिक बन गए कि हम शास्त्रों की बात करते हुए डरते हैं, हम मूल्यों की बात करते हुए डरते हैं। स्वामी जी ने बहुत अम्बलनेस से कहा, मैं एक मंक हूं। स्वामी जी, गौतम बुद्ध तो राजकुमार थे, वो मंक बने। महावीर राजकुमार थे, वो मंक बने। हम तो सन्यासियों को पूजने वाली सभ्यता हैं। हम राजाओं को नहीं पूजते, हम राजकुमारों को नहीं पूजते। हमारे इतिहास में उनकी शौर्य गाथाएं नहीं लिखी जाती जो तलवार लेकर सिकंदर बनता है। हम तो सन्यासियों के साथ बैठने में अपना आदर बढ़ाते हैं। These are the life skills. When we talk of life skills, we have to go back to Gita, because Gita is something which tells you the practical aspects of life. With one shloka, I'll finish my deliberation. Adhishthanam karta ch karanam prathak vidyanam vivid cheshtayam daivam cha panj karanam. There are only 5 reasons to be successful in the world without hurting anyone. The first is Adhishthan. Adhishthan is the organization or the body or the space where we work. So in this world we work with our body, but it's also the organization. So either if something is wrong, the Adhishthan is wrong, or the Karta, the doer is mismatched. This body is not supposed to do that work for which it has selected. So either of it has to be changed. Third is Karanam. Karan is what? Antah Karan, Bahya Karan. Karan is the tool. आपने क्या टूल्स लिए हैं? आप एक शिक्षक हैं और मैं कहती हूँ मेरे हाथ में शिक्षा का नहीं माइक होना चाहिए रात दिन. So I'm not a public speaker. I'm just an educationist. We have to match the tool. Then prathak cheshtayam vividha. एक बार करके एक तरह से करके हम सफल नहीं हो सकते. We have to imply multitasking, multiple ways of doing the work. We cannot say give up or ho gaya. No, we can't say. And the last is Daivam, Bhagya. Unfortunately, people relate Bhagya with akarmanyata. भाग्य कैसे बनता है? पूर्व कर्मों पर. तो कर्म इज द बेस. अगर हमें भविष्य का भाग्य बनाना है तो आज के कर्म ठीक करने पड़ेंगे. एंड द लास्ट थिंग इज सरप्राइजिंगली, जैसे सांस लेने का कोई मंत्रालय नहीं होता, ऐसे ही जब तक अंग्रेज नहीं आए थे शिक्षा का कोई मंत्रालय नहीं था. ना मनु में था, ना चाणक्य में था, ना ललितादित्य में था, ना हमारे वेदों में है, कहीं नहीं था. क्योंकि हम सबको शिक्षित होना है. दैट इज इम्पेरेटिव. देयर इज नो मंत्रालय टू मेक अस एजुकेट. We have to learn these tasks very, very diligently. Otherwise, we are going to lose out. और फिर एक शेर से बात शुरू की थी तो शेर से ही ख़त्म करूँगी कि मैं चुप रहा तो उनकी बदगुमानियाँ बढ़ती गईं. वो भी सुना उसने जो मैंने कहा नहीं. इसलिए बोलना ज़रूरी है. प्रणाम.
Thanks a lot for all those words, inspiring words. You mentioned you're just an educationalist, not a public speaker. You're quite a public speaker. And talking about Swamis, I kind of agree with you. When I go somewhere and they say, oh, there's a Swami coming and speaking, they are like, okay. But when they say there's a Swami who's gotten a PhD coming and speaking, they'll be like, oh, then I need to listen to him. Wow, what's the big deal? You learn the Prasthan Traya and you become a Swami. PhD in computer science really has no value there, but still. And like you said, people have put a lot of trust on educationalists, and I think we should live up to it to bring them in the right path, the right education that we need to give. Thank you for your words. Sir, to you, last but not the least, I invite Dr. Rajan.
Pranam, good evening. Very difficult when teachers are given less time. And it becomes more difficult when you get the mic. But I'm sure I will take less time, try to take less time. And I will complete my time, which is given to me by Swamiji, 5 to 7 minutes. I will complete in 20 minutes. Don't worry, I'm not going to take that much time. I'm listening from the morning और मैं बहुत धन्य हो गया, बहुत अच्छा लगा, बहुत मिठास सबकी भाषा में, बहुत ज्ञान सबकी भाषा में सुनने को मिला. मुंबई में ऐसा सुनने नहीं मिलता है, क्योंकि वहाँ इसके बारे में ज़्यादा सुनने मिलता है. तो मैं पहले तो धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ कि मुझे फिर से अपने खुद के विश्वविद्यालय में बुलाया और मुझे मौका दिया. यूनिवर्सिटी ये शब्द अगर हम समझे तो हमें कोई चर्चा की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. यूनिवर्सिटी ये शब्द है, ये यूनिवर्स से आया है. कैन वी क्रिएट यूनिवर्स इन द सिटी विच इज कॉल्ड एज यूनिवर्सिटी, तो हमको हमारा दुकान बंद कर देना पड़ेगा. वही नहीं समझे हैं, जो मूल तत्व है उसे भूल के हम सारी बातें करते हैं. और इसीलिए मैं यहाँ देख रहा था कौन कौन बैठे हैं, कैसे बैठे हैं, तो मैंने देखा कि सारे यहाँ तो विद्यार्थी दिख ही नहीं रहे हैं. फिर और थोड़ा चश्मा ऊपर करके देखा तो एक छोटा सा बच्चा मुझे दिखा, तो मुझे लगा चलो खुश, एक ही ऑडियंस है हमारे पास में आज. हाँ, उसी के लिए हमें काम करना है. अगर उसी के लिए हमें काम करना है तो हमें एक जो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है, मैं बार बार उसे यूज़ कर रहा हूँ 20-25 सालों से, फिर भी कोई बदलाव नहीं दिखता है, और वो है, हमारे देश के लिए बोल रहा हूँ मैं, नोइंग व्हाट टू डू इज नॉट द प्रॉब्लम. सब पता है, बहुत अच्छे से बता देंगे हम, ये करना है, वो करना है, ये नहीं हो रहा है, वो नहीं हो रहा है. भगत सिंह किसी के घर में पैदा होना चाहिए, मेरे घर में नहीं. Knowing what to do is not the problem, not doing is the problem. एंड आज की तारीख में, जैसे मैडम कह रही थी खाना खाते समय, कि बहुत लोग तकलीफ देते हैं विश्वविद्यालय संभालने के लिए. तो तीसरा है, नॉट अलाउिंग टू डू इज द ग्रेटेस्ट प्रॉब्लम इन दिस कंट्री. अभी हम विश्वविद्यालय है हमारा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. अभी हमारा टॉपिक ग्लोबल सिटीजनशिप का है. व्हाट आर द स्किल्स विच वी शुड लर्न टू बिकम ए ग्लोबल सिटीजन. मैं स्टूडेंट मूवमेंट में था, युवकों के मूवमेंट में था. सुब्बाराव, डॉक्टर बाबा आमटे, विनोबा भावे, इनके साथ में मैंने थोड़ा सीखा, उनके साथ में रहा. एक गाना है हिंदी में, ये जो आज का हमारा एजुकेशन फॉर लाइफ एंड ग्लोबल सिटीजनशिप, ये पूरा एक के पूरे गाने में है. वो गाना है, जय जगत जय जगत जय जगत पुकारे जाए. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ग्लोबल सिटीजनशिप एंड वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द ग्लोब इज वन. सिर अमन पे वारे जा, सबके हित के वास्ते अपना सुख बिखारे जाए. यही तो हम कह रहे हैं. बट हाउ डू वी डू इट? That is the important question. and I'm going to give some tips what exactly we can do. प्रेम की पुकार हो, सबका सबसे प्यार हो. That's it. जीत हो जहां की, क्यों किसी की हार हो. What kind of education we are giving? Education of competition, where other has to lose. है ना? इसके बाहर निकलना होगा, उसका कौशल्य सिखाना होगा, उसका स्किल सिखाना होगा. बाकी तो सीख जाएंगे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. रिपीटेटिवली कुछ कर लिया, एक प्रोग्राम लिख दिया रिपीटेटिवली, तो आपको आ जाएगा. आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट रिपीटेटिव स्किल्स which will reduce the gap between intrinsic and extrinsic education. वो जो गैप बढ़ गई है उसको हम कैसा कम कर सकते हैं. श्री अरबिंदो ने जो कहा है उसके परे तो कुछ भी नहीं है. हम पढ़ते हैं, सुनते हैं, उसके आगे नहीं जाते हैं. आगे ये बोलता है, न्याय का विधान हो, सबका हक समान हो, सबकी अपनी हो जमीन, सबका आसमान हो, जय जगत जय जगत जय जगत पुकारे जा. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू रीड दिस 2 लाइन्स नाउ. रंग भेद छोड़ दो, जात पात तोड़ दो, मानवों की आपसी अखंड प्रीत जोड़ दो, जय जगत जय जगत जय जगत पुकारे जा. शांति की हवा चले, जग कहे बले बले, दिन उगे स्नेह का, रात रंज की ढले, जय जगत जय जगत जय जगत पुकारे जाए. To achieve this, what kind of skills which we will need? Of course, you need money, because Mahavira brought music, Buddha brought meditation, Christianity and Jainism brought music, and Jaina brought mathematics. All sutra, theory of relativity we are talking about. But music, meditation, mathematics, which Mahavir talked about, all through formula, and last is money. You need money. You cannot live without money in today's world. You have to be very, very practical. Then what kind of skills which we will need? I will read because I have less time to speak. But I was thinking while coming in the train yesterday, there are 4 domains. If we can impart skills in these 4 domains to our children, understanding global citizenship and the meaning of universalization, then these are the 4 domains. One is the content competencies. How do we develop the content competencies in students? We will have to do that. Without that, they cannot succeed. Which includes academic disciplines, self-cultural, global knowledge, and all those things. Second is cognitive competencies. Critical thinking, creativity, communication, and all those. The third domain is social emotional competencies. Self-efficacy, positive self-image, growth mindset, curiosity, self-awareness, self-management, and several other things. And the fourth, in 4 dimension, this is the 4th dimension, and that is navigational competencies. Nobody can navigate my life, but I can navigate my life provided I reduce the gap between internal and external awareness of myself and about the society in which I am living. Exploration and planning skills, which comes in this, opportunity seeking skills, social capital skills, and practical life skills are the most important thing which one has to. Now, lastly, Buddha, in a lighter vein, Madam has said about leftist. I say neither left nor right, go in the middle path, and then you can see here also and you can see here also. And therefore, good Buddha defined the middle path, and he defined global citizenship from this point of view. These are 3 points One is the qualities of global citizen is, as per Buddha's thoughts, the wisdom to perceive the interconnectedness of all life and living. It's not only life and living. Second, the courage not to fear or deny difference, but to respect and strive to understand people of different cultures and to grow from encounters with them. Third, the compassion to maintain in imaginative empathy that reaches beyond one's immediate surroundings and extends to those suffering in distant places. There is one compassionate systems framework which has been developed. Of course, the philosophy which we learn throughout our life through various people, whether it is Mahavira, Buddha, or many people, Jnaneshwara. So this compassionate systems framework which has been developed by Peter Senge and his team, if you read, you can just, I don't say Google nowadays, ChatGPT or GPT-4, you type it, and let me tell you, I am not against ChatGPT. In our university, we have allowed our students to use ChatGPT. If you are guru, then you will allow them. If you are a teacher, you will not allow them. And therefore, you need to understand what is the difference between teacher and a guru. गुरु वह है जो किसी की आत्मा को जगा दे, एंड चैट जीपीटी एंड GPT-4 एंड गूगल तुम्हारे आत्मा को जगा नहीं दे सकती है. इसीलिए हमें शिक्षक नहीं चाहिए, हमें गुरु चाहिए. तो अभी ये सारे शिक्षकों को गुरु में हम कैसे कन्वर्ट करेंगे, यही हमारे लिए एक टास्क है, यही हमारे लिए एक होमवर्क है. गुरु वह है जो किसी की आत्मा को जगा दे, किसी के व्यक्तित्व को गरिमा दे दे, उसके बंद फूल खुल जाए और खिल जाए, वह गुरु है. शिक्षक कौन है? शिक्षक वह है जो पुरानी पीढ़ियों के द्वारा अर्जित सूचनाओं को नई पीढ़ी तक पहुंचाने का काम करते और विद्या देते हैं, उसे शिक्षक कहते हैं. मैं उसे येलो पेज टेक्नोलॉजी कहता हूं. येलो पेज टेक्नोलॉजी है ना, वो शिक्षक यूज करता है, गुरु नहीं यूज करता है. और कोई भी गुरु को चैट जीपीटी से और GPT-4 और गूगल से डरने की कोई बात नहीं है, ऐसा मैं कहता हूं. और संस्कृति और संस्कार अगर नहीं रहेंगे तो आप जो भी देंगे वो शिक्षा का कोई मतलब नहीं रहेगा. लेकिन संस्कृति और संस्कार अगर आपके साथ में रहे तो वो आपकी शिक्षा विद्या में परिवर्तित हो जाएगी. हमें शिक्षा नहीं विद्या देनी चाहिए, और उसके लिए हमें ये जो 4 डोमेन्स के प्रोग्राम्स है, बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम्स है हम कर सकते हैं, वो करने पड़ेंगे. और जो हम वो परीक्षा लेते हैं उससे हमें बाहर निकलना होगा. सब बकवास है. मैं 15 साल से कुलपति रहा हूँ, मैं बोल बोल के थक गया हूँ. वो सब बकवास है. वो जो हम लेते हैं वो नहीं, उसमें रिफ्लेक्शन ही नहीं आता है. रिफ्लेक्शन नहीं आता. बीकॉम हो जाता है, वो बैंक की स्लिप है, नहीं भर सकता है. चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट से मैं बात कर रहा था कल, मेरे साथ में ट्रेन में था. मैंने उसको पूछा कि भाई मुझे ये इनकम टैक्स है यहाँ ये, तो उसने कहा कि नहीं अभी मुझे थोड़ा पढ़ना पड़ेगा, अभी बुक नहीं लाया हूँ. लेकिन रिफ्लेक्टिव लर्निंग में ये सब नहीं होता है. वो अपने जीवन में कभी भी तैयार रहेगा, एंड दैट काइंड ऑफ रिफ्लेक्टिव एजुकेशन एंड स्किल्स नीड्स टू बी गिवन, which will necessarily reduce the gap between internal and external, and therefore 3H. गांधी जी को तो हम भूल नहीं सकते हैं, है ना. 3H, हेड, हैंड एंड हार्ट, ये 3 को आप मिश्रण कैसे कर सकते हैं, ये आप देखिए. तो फिर आपको ये सारा जो ग्लोबल सिटीजनशिप वगैरह है सब कुछ हो जाएगा, और अपने सिटी को यूनिवर्सिटी में कन्वर्ट करने के लिए यूनिवर्स को अभ्यास करो. यही मैं कहना चाहता हूँ. धन्यवाद. थैंक यू.
Thanks a lot for those words. I hope I'm still audible. The message that you put forth through the poem, let's learn the language of sacrifice and practice love in the thoughts that we process, words that we speak, and actions that we perform. Just because this is a panel discussion, just one quick question to each one of you. It's not like a long question. I just want one punchline from each one of you. Like, मैंने एक बार commit कर लिया तो मैं खुद का नहीं सुनता, something like that. Like one line punchline. If you can tell me, according to you, in one line, who is a true global citizen?
A person who listens to his heart is a global citizen.
Thank you. You know, we are from a world, from a tradition which says yatra naryastu pujinte tatra ramante devata. Women are given the highest regard in our culture, and our learning starts with our mother. It starts from a woman. So, according to you, the role of woman in making one into a true global citizen. What do you think? What is the role of a woman, according to you, in one punchline, in transforming an individual into a true global citizen?
Acceptance, I would say. Because you have to accept one and all in all diversity. I think that would be nice.
And that's what mothers teach. Thank you. And lastly to you, one quick question. What would you tell people, especially as part of the C20 initiative, the Education for Life? We had a survey that was sent out across the world. We had about 85 countries or so where people responded, more than 11,000 responses that we got. We did give options wherein people could say education for life is useless, don't talk about it, it's all. Or some people even said, be modern, don't look behind, don't look backwards, don't look into these ancient cultures. You are someone who's representing that. What would you tell these people who say just don't look behind? Old cultures are old cultures, they should be forgotten, look forward. What would you tell them? One punchline.
In my view, whether it is old or new, the three things are Shashwat: Sat, Chit and Anand. Chit is the thing which variates. Satya and Anand are static, but Chit is dynamic. If we can control Chit, I think forget old and new, the world will move on.
Beautiful. Thank you. So we'll end the discussion here. Hopefully we stuck to time. I know it's past 3:30, but we did our best. I'll end with this quote from the American writer Mark Twain. He said, "Don't let school come between you and your education." So with that, thanking each one of you for your patience, and thanking all of you for your valuable thoughts and your patience too. Thank you.